Ask yourself.
ballooned by your own body,
By your own body.
looking up to see your face violently falling from the earth's inner eyelid that is the sky.
That is the sky.
Is there anything you wouldn't do for
You
you?
wouldn't do for you.
My name is Justin Earl Grant. I'm a visual artist here in Houston, Texas. This is my solo exhibition, Beseech, located in Sabine Street Studios in Sawyer Yard. Most of my work is based on the human form, portraitures. Beseech is a series of 30 drawings of what I would call psychological portrait. They are not of any particular person. They're more so to represent a sort of emotional or psychological state. Beseech, its title, which means to implore or to ask, is something that as I'm producing the drawings, I am sort of thinking and asking things about myself as far as self-improvement or maybe changing certain habits. And my goal is that this comes through in these works, and that these portraits or these individuals in turn kind of ask or confront the viewer. They are drawn or created in that certain state where they're very cropped close and almost popping out and confronting the viewer and the individual. Some of them are somewhat aggressive, and other ones perhaps are more sly and attractive. But as the title Beseech claims, it is a way of asking something of the viewer. I am asking the viewer something of themselves. I just feel that we are in a time and society when we should be demanding or asking things of each other and of the rest of society. It would be very difficult for me to talk about the origin or where this series, when it started. But there are some very concrete references. A lot of times I use material that I've recycled or that people give to me, and that this free material, for lack of it gives me a certain freedom or liberty to be more expressive and more experimental with it. As most artists, I think, well, since I can remember, I've been drawing faces. The idea of a face is nothing new to me. It's not unique to this series. But using this kind of paper would be somewhat new. And then just having different shapes and different forms of paper. I decided to do something different because I felt like the people are looking for these new experiences and different experiences. And so the most quickest and almost the easiest solution would be to take the painting off the wall. So to turn my back to the wall. Therefore, I wanted to do this, take up the center of the room, the center of the gallery. And although I don't do sculptures, I'm not a 3D artist, or I not historically do sculptures. This is the one solution I had to taking up the middle of the gallery with drawings, with two-dimensional work, forming this oval, almost cathedral type space. And I think that adds to the experience. So the viewer is surprised, is asking themselves, why this form? There are certain contradictions within the work, within the fact that there is a sculpture in the center, but it's difficult, where's the entrance to get closer to it? And a lot of my work deals with these contradictions or this anxiety or this push and pull that I find, I don't want to use the word misunderstanding, but maybe there's a lack of understanding. And that opens up a certain search. During the process, over the course of the 4 or 5 years that these works were produced, the style changed. There are some works that are much more figurative, very clear in the form. Other ones are more expressive and a little looser. One of my favorites is, I call him the Young Prince, who's a very blonde-haired, blue-eyed, very attractive young boy. Then there is another favorite of mine called the Gold-Toothed Bandit. And he kind of represents perhaps a ghost or an alter ego of one of the individuals. So you'll see there would be an individual and then its alter ego or its shadow or ghost of that. Portraiture or the human face has always been very, very prevalent in my work since the very beginning. It's the way I most easily express my emotion. It's just with the face, right? So that is 30 years later comes through in these works, right? There not a whole lot has changed. I would almost say. So I'm really using the face, the structure of the face to project an emotion. And just as you see in the real life, right? All you really need to see is between here and here, and you understand a lot about humanity. So it's a reoccurring, it's a constant theme. Sometimes it's hard to escape, but there is still, I guess, I still have a need to express something, to express that emotion. And up until now, drawing is the quickest and most honest way I have figured out how to do that. So I suppose I'll continue to do that until I resolve that need to express whatever it is I'm feeling. I could not tell you what I was feeling or when I created the majority of these works. I'm rather prolific. I go through periods of being very, very prolific and drawing a lot and producing a lot, and other periods maybe not so active, or I'm working on other projects, oil paintings. So specifically where or what I was doing during the production of these works would be hard to say. But I think it's rather evident based on the mark making that where my attention or my energy was, or how I felt that day. Some of them are very, very hard, very aggressive, dirty, kind of a lot of smudges. Other ones have much more attention to color, to line, cleaner, where I'm intentionally trying to create something that is attractive, perhaps using more pinks, more pastel colors. The other ones are, intentionally trying to create maybe more of a mystery, a ghost type, darker sensation. So I just assume it comes from just what I was feeling at that time. And once again, I do work rather quickly. So these are kind of windows, kind of snapshots. I would say the majority of them, perhaps I produced in less than 2 hours, the majority of the work. And then I would come back and clean it up or kind of refine it or go back into it a little bit. But there's not more than 2 or 3 hours dedicated to each drawing. So it is a very momentary kind of action. I do enjoy music when I produce, so some of them are influenced by the music I was listening to at the time. But that, once again, that music is more so a kind of part of my feelings at the time. So they just kind of go hand in hand. Very natural for me to produce work. These works were done over the course of 3 or 4 years. So the production of the work was just something I've been doing for a while. The concept of exhibiting in them in this sense was challenging, and that was the adventurous and fun part. The discovery of that there's going to be a centerpiece, that we needed something in the center, and thus the creation of the sculpture, which is very recent. That was very fun and motivating, and something I plan on continuing. I would just say it's creative. There's a lot of creativity in how you exhibit the work. And I think, from what I understand, the viewers are very appreciative. The public that has seen the exhibition are very, very appreciative of this way of showing. I was thinking I would have some more comments about maybe the walls being vacant, or maybe the room is too dark, when it was quite the opposite. People loved the empty walls. They loved the use of the center of the gallery and the difference of the lighting. So I would just say that was very rewarding, how this very risky way of exhibiting work, of exhibiting experimental and very honest in work, kind of paid off, and within the experience to the public. I think that's, as artists, well, I think the public these days are wanting new experiences. They're wanting not new art, they just want to see art differently. So we have to be able to show them art differently. And show them not just ourselves, but show them themselves within the art.
We must beg of ourselves with all the weight of being alive. Asking for help is a horror, but Grant's portrait shows no greater pain exists than failing to show up for yourself. Yet a hope stubbornly hides in these words, unshaped, screaming, grabbing you by the throat, asking you, will you help me?